Don't tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me. I do what I want. Regardless of whether you yourself are a parent or teacher, you probably still understand that when it comes to young people, attempts to restrict or control their behavior can be met with a fierce resistance. Now, it's one thing when they're children, when all you're asking of them is to pick up their toys or to clean up their room. But what about when they get older and the stakes get higher? What happens when children grow up, move away from home, and all of a sudden there's no one there to help them make good decisions? No one to get them to study for that exam instead of getting high with the cute girl or guy down the hall, or to remind them to use protection? What happens when there's no one to keep them from driving home drunk? Obviously, given the stakes, these are questions that have been on the minds of parents, teachers, and policymakers for quite some time. From abstinence-only sex education programs to the famous dare to keep kids off drugs, our go-to mantra has always been to just say no. DARE, in fact, became so popular that by its peak it had reached over 27 million children in the United States. There's just one problem with these kinds of programs: they don't work. Study after study has found that those who complete the DARE program are no less likely to use drugs than those who don't. Why not? One compelling explanation is based on an idea called self-determination theory. According to this theory, one of the most fundamental human motivations is towards satisfying a need for autonomy, a felt sense that our thoughts, our behaviors are of our own volition, that we've considered possible alternatives and have chosen for ourselves a particular course of action or way of being that most closely reflects our own personal values. In other words, the fatal flaw of these programs is less about having prescribed the wrong ways to say no, and more about the problem with telling emerging adults what to do in the first place. My research is about putting this idea to the test. Our participants are incoming U of O freshmen. They perform a task in which they actively try to control or reduce their immediate desires. The key comparison here is that for half the experiment, we tell them what to do, whereas for the other half, they choose for themselves whether or not to regulate their cravings. Now, this felt sense of autonomy thing is notoriously difficult to measure, and so rather than asking participants, we ask their brains instead, using an MRI machine. Ultimately, we're interested in whether promoting autonomy improves regulation, not only in the lab, but also as we track our participants throughout their first year of college. By demonstrating how regulation works in concert with motivation, our hope is that future interventions can better support the development of healthier, more autonomous adults. Thank you very much.